Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, we're going to talk about something a little controversial, and it might be triggering for some people. So if at any point in this video, if your virgin ears can't take it, feel free to click the X button, feel free to leave, unsubscribe, whatever you might want to do. But for a lot of you guys, I think this is also going to provide a lot of value, and that's why I'm here at the end of the day. I want to provide as much value as I can to you for absolutely free, just because I want to promote this ecosystem, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about all the PulseChain yield farms that I have my eye on, because I also hear, on the other hand, a lot of people complaining of, oh, I don't have my single-sided staking, or I don't have the yield farms that I want. And really, guys, on the PulseX side of things, PulseX is a finished product, and it sounds like some people out there have expectations of profit from the work of others, which you should not have. But luckily, we've got amazing builders in this space where if they see something lacking or they see something they want, they go out and they build it. And so a lot of these yield farms that I'm discovering, or that I have discovered, actually plug into PulseX. And if they work, again, use all of this stuff at your own risk, okay? There's huge rug risk to all this stuff. But if these work, there are some benefits in that they feed back into PulseX, okay? They utilize PulseX liquidity, and sometimes they utilize other coins in the Richard Heart ecosystem, and they allow single-sided staking, which also, as we know, locks up liquidity, or locks up supply, and prevents dumping when, by rewarding you with another yield farm token, which you can then dump instead. Hint, hint, wink, wink, that's the game here, all right? For a lot of people, and everybody plays yield farming differently, but in my personal yield farming journey, I typically treat the secondary token that I earn as the token to sell for more of my primary tokens, Hex, PulseChain, PulseX. All right, now that might be triggering to other people on the other side that say, no, wait, you got to buy my yield farming token. I don't really care, okay? You're never going to make everybody happy. So I know after making this video, there's going to be some people that are all mad that I'm talking about other projects that, oh, you're not a maximalist or whatever. And it's like, okay, you're right. I'm maximal-ish. Not maximalist anymore, but I do appreciate things that extend the functionality and that feed back into the core coins. And so before I go any farther, I just want to say that my strategy throughout this whole video is I still hold 90% of my bags, or more probably, I haven't done the exact math, in Hex, PulseChain, PulseX. That's typically not going to change, and I do take side bets in other protocols that I think add value. But on the other end of the spectrum, I'm not going to buy into the narrative on some of these brand new yield farming coins and pretend, I'm not going to lie, and pretend to you or to myself that I believe these are the future, and maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong, but I utilize yield farms as a way personally to increase my bags of PLS and Hex and PulseX personally. And I know other people view it differently, and that's okay. We can have differing viewpoints. I'm here to expose 3 of my favorite yield farms right now that, for different reasons that I'll get into in a minute, I find to be within my risk threshold. Now, when I show you these yield farms, just know that none of this is without risk. Smart contract risk, rug pull risk. It could be malicious developers, or it could just be negligence. It could be poorly written code. And they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. A lot of quote-unquote rug pulls out there aren't necessarily people that are malicious. It's just code failing. So before we go any further as well, you need to take note of this one concept. And I heard this concept from Miguel Dollar Cost Crypto, the condom wallet. All right, the condom wallet. You got to wrap your willy before we play around in these degen yield farms. I literally have a wallet that I labeled degen, and I transfer out of I store 95, 99 maybe % of my wealth in untouchable wallets that will never touch any other applications besides the core things like PulseX that we all know and trust. But if we want to experiment with new protocols, it usually is helpful. This is a really important tip right here that I'm telling you. It's helpful to sometimes make a brand new wallet, a brand new set of private keys, okay? And it's not that hard. You just make a new browser user. So click in the top left corner here, and you can see I've got different users over here. And, you can make a new user on your Chrome or Safari or Brave browser, whatever you're using. And you could add additional MetaMasks to isolate coins if you want to play in I call it degen behavior, but that might be a little rude to some people because we've got developers working hard, putting their heart and soul into these projects. So I don't just want to call these things degen activities, but if you're going to play around in alternative sandboxes, make sure you are in an isolated sandbox, okay? Because what if something goes wrong? You don't want your tiny little 1% of your funds that you're playing around with. Maybe you've got $500 over here, but you've got $50,000 in your main wallet. Okay, so you don't want to be putting that $500, exposing it to your core wallet of $50,000 and putting all your money at risk. So make a brand new condom wallet, new MetaMask, brand new seed words, send a tiny bit of funds, right? That's what I do, to this new wrapped condom wallet. And then I experiment accordingly with these things. Now, PulseX right here. PulseX is what I've got on the screen. Look right here. And we've got liquidity farms on PulseX that are very strategic. They've been working very, very well for a lot of people. Currently, I'm in the PulseX Pulse farm and the Hex Pulse farm. And there's reasons why I'm not in INC PulseX. Maybe I will address those more on my live stream, okay? I'll take a lot more questions on my live stream because I want to make this video somewhat quick. I'm also not in the stablecoin farms, but these are paying out very highly if you want to take that risk. Again, we can talk about all that later. First, yield farm. I know you're all waiting for this one, right? Daytona.finance. Daytona.finance has been around for a long time, and we can look at the chart just to see how long it's been around. Looking at how long something's been around isn't, the only thing that matters, but it does matter in terms of safety sometimes, right? It's the Lindy effect. The longer something has existed, the less likely it is that it will rug. A lot of times things rug within the first month. This one's been around for almost the same length that PulseChain has been around, 105 days so far. And PulseChain has only been around for 110 days, I think. So Daytona's been around for a long, long time. If you haven't discovered this one yet, keep it on your radar. And again, guys, by no means am I telling everybody to go out and use this. But if you're one of those guys out there that's complaining about that you don't have the yield farms that you like, or you don't have the single-sided staking you like, well, shout out to Slashdot. He's the developer. Go in their Telegram. That's another really useful tip. If you want to get a sense intuitively of whether or not something is safe, oftentimes you can go into the Telegram and talk to the developer. Now, again, all these tips I'm telling you here, it's not like, oh, the developer gives me trust. I totally trust this platform now. You have to take in a multitude of factors, and you still have to hold in your mind this contradictory idea that this might all rug. This might all fail. Again, whether it's malicious or by just negligence or poor code, there might be a bug in the code that gets exploited. What am I trying to say? If you put your money in Daytona Finance, you might lose all your money. But I've got some bets in here on the single-sided staking pool side because I had tokens that were just sitting around that I figured, why not just pop in these pools and earn some passive income, which I am then transferring into more PulseChain. I'm being very transparent, very honest with you guys right now. And again, people are going to hate it no matter what. So here we go. You can stake these tokens on single-sided staking. And look at all the tokens here. I'll just let you read these. PulseX, PHEX, EHEX, right? A lot of people, they might want to stake EHEX. And look, people are earning 19% APR. So that's better than, a 3-year stake right now. I think that's about the cutoff where staking EHEX would be more lucrative than locking it in here. Now, again, locking it in here comes with way more risk, but you're also getting more reward than you would for a short-term EHEX stake. You know what I mean? So some people are putting their EHEX in here that would otherwise just be liquid because they don't feel like staking it over on the Ethereum blockchain for shorter periods of time. Hedron, you've even got Pepe, Chainlink, whatever, all these meme coins or whatever, and then they got Fux and 2IRH. I don't have most of these coins. I don't own the vast majority of these coins, but, I stuck some Hedron in here and just to see what happens, and I've been earning passive yield in the form of Tony token, and then I swap that Tony token every so often, and I buy more Pulse. That's the game that I'm playing. Go ahead and hate me if you want. Now, farms, what kind of farms do they have? The cool thing about the Daytona farms is everyone's complaining, right, that, they don't have the best yield farms. They don't have single-sided staking. Well, look, Daytona added all the single-sided staking that, a Richard Heart maximalist could possibly want. All right. They even have an EHEX pool and a PHEX pool. Now, be warned, guys, there's a 4% deposit fee. And that's just to keep the balance of the game theory going, right? If there was no fee, if there was no risk in putting up single-sided staking, then, you know, you need to put up some risk. You need to put some money where your mouth is, and you need to have some skin in the game. So basically, let's say I put 1 million p-hex in here. They're going to take 40,000 of that p-hex, and that's going to go to buying and burning the Tony token. And that means I'm essentially in the negative at first. So it's going to take me, I haven't done the math on this one, for example, but it's going to take me a couple of days or weeks or maybe even a month to recoup that 4% that I just paid to the buy and burn Tony function on my deposit fee here. So, you know, the ROI on these things does take time, and you're risking the fact that in that period of time, you're just hoping that these things continue to work and continue to pay out and be fine. But you'll start to notice a lot of these yield farms use the same code. They use the same Master Chef code. They use the same contracts. And, you know, a lot of the code that was used in Daytona is some of the same forked code that even PulseX itself uses. The Master Chef contract, guys, when I talk about the Master Chef, that is the original Uniswap v2 code, or the Sushi Swap copy that allowed people to really copy and paste this very easily, okay? So farms, what kind of farms does Daytona have? Well, they've got a lot of things tied to their own yield farm token, right? And that's to, you know, that's to get that circular feedback loop going. If you know, you know. But I'm not so interested in those because, like I said, I just want to increase my Hex PulseX bags. You know, I'm a maximal-ish Hex maxi, love it or hate it. But yet, look, you've even got incentivization on the EHEX PHEX LP pair. So, you know, a lot of people were mad that this EHEX PHEX LP pair went away on PulseX. For whatever reason, the devs pulled it down. Well, you could earn 33% APY in the form of Tony token by staking your LP here. And how do you do that? Well, it actually utilizes PLP tokens that you get over from PulseX, right? So you'd go to PulseX, you'd put up your liquidity here. They'd give you a PLP token, which is just a representation of your liquidity. Then you'd come over here and you'd stake that token in here. Or let's say you've got PLP on another wallet, right? You can send some tiny fraction of that PLP to that wrapped condom wallet that I was talking about, because it's risky with this new stuff, right? And you could stake it right here. Now, Daytona, some pros and cons, right? Well, I told you the cons. The cons with all this stuff: smart contract risk. What if there's a bug? Yes, you could lose all your money. I can't stress that enough. But what do I like about it? Well, it's been around for a while. It's been around for almost as long as PulseChain's been around. It does have a review on Pulse Police. Look at this right here on, you know, if you're not following the Pulse Police Telegram chat, you should really follow it. And you should be asking that smart contracts get reviewed by the Pulse Police. This is just a bunch of really nice developers out of the kindness of their hearts. They are taking their time to review smart contracts for red flags. And of course, you'll go here and you'll see red flags and you'll say, oh no, red flags, that means bad. But look, guys, you got to think of things on a spectrum, and you can't think so binary about good and bad, right? It's like saying, oh, there's good guys and bad guys in the war. It's like, no, everyone's kind of a bad guy and a good guy. It's all relative. Okay. That's all I'm saying. So look, they've got owner has an admin key. Owner can delegate ownership. Owner can manage pools and set rewards. And owner can mint unlimited Tony. But then, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. But look, it says, note, if we were to review the PulseX Master Chef contract, it would likely have these same red flags. And that's because everyone's copying from the same code base, which was Master Chef, which was the old Uniswap v2 / Sushi Swap stuff from back in the day. And it's tried and true, more or less. The owner does usually have limited admin key delegation in these things. So they can delegate ownership because you got to have somebody, right, that can manage the pools. Who's going to be the guy that's putting up new pools? If you want a new yield farm or a new single-side staking pool, you need an owner function to put that up, right? Now, minting unlimited Tony, well, that means that they can technically mint a bunch of their own Tony token and crash the price. And if they do, well, then that's game over, but at least your PLP tokens are still yours, right? So yeah, they could wreck their own token, just like people talk about Hex all the time. Oh my God, the origin address has 90% of the coins or 85%. Well, that's the same with every project, guys. The owners or the originators of the coin can dump all their tokens if they want to shoot themselves in the head and nuke the whole project. Yes, they can always do that, but they don't, because people typically want to see their projects do well, typically. But again, look, this is what contract risk looks like. This is admin key smart contract risk, and just be aware of that. But, you know, also one more thing I'll say about Daytona is I've seen the Slashdot developer in Telegram. And I've watched him talk to people. He seems to actually be a core kind of Hexakin, Richard Hart, like a fan, basically. He's one of us, is what the vibe that I get from this guy. And at the end of the day, this is just my intuition, right? This is just my intuition, but I don't think of him as a malicious dude. And of course, time could prove me wrong. That's why I wrap my condom wallet and I limit my safety there. Number 2, we've got Impulse Finance, okay? Impulse, IMPLS. This one, very interesting model because there's a very low circulating supply, which gives the perceived value of these tokens. It allows people, it kind of tricks people's psychology into thinking that these tokens should have a higher price because there's such a low supply. There's only 300,000 that will ever be distributed, and only about 50,000 of those so far, 45,000, have been distributed so far. And this one's really simple because you've got vaults and staking, and you've got to read the documentation on this too. I can only tell you so much in this short video. But look at how low the market cap is here, and people do think that matters. I mean, even though it doesn't, if psychologically people think it matters, then it matters to a degree. And we've got vaults in here where you can take those same PLP tokens. Remember that some of those same PLP tokens that you can stake in Daytona, you can also stake in IMPLS, specifically the Hex Pulse PLP and the PulseX Pulse PLP. So you can take those coins, send them to send some of them to a wrapped wallet, or not. You don't have to do any of this. This is just what I'm experimenting with personally, right? Or DaiPLS. And they're even playing nice with Tony. So that's one positive thing I could say about Impulse, is that they're playing nice by also circularly referencing Daytona, and they're allowing you to put up your Tony PLS PLP just to have that circular loop of, not selling, right? But you can see almost nobody put their money in here. 358 TVL, $358. That's not much, but it's nice to see the gesture of good faith to Daytona, okay? And then, of course, on the stake tab over here, you can go ahead and just stake your... This is to incentivize higher liquidity in the pools. So if you want to provide IMPLS, PLS, LP, stake it here, or you could just single-side stake your IMPLS token as a mechanism to take it off the market and prevent people dumping, which, like I said, I'm not involved in that. I'm simply experimenting with liquidity pools that I already have, and I've been staking them in here and earning some passive income that way. Now, how do I intuitively decide whether or not this is a good idea? Guys, there's thousands of not thousands, I should say maybe tens, if not 100 yield farms out there. Go to any other blockchain, and it's starting to happen on PulseChain too. We're witnessing the explosion of new technology, right? We're witnessing the explosion of new yield farms, and a lot of these things, these brand new yield farms, a lot of them sketch me out. And I weigh a multitude of factors in my head. But one thing that I like about IMPLS is that it is copied from Cycle.finance, which was a successful non-rug that a lot of people liked on Avalanche. Okay, this Cycle.finance, now this is no longer, it's been decommissioned. Okay, Cycle.finance no longer works, but the code has been copied from something that was already successful that a lot of people made a lot of money on. And then they stopped it, they stopped the emissions and they took the protocol down sometime in, I don't know, the bull market for sure. It was like 2021. So you can look at the history of this and look at the code as well. All the code can be found on the Blockchain Explorer, okay, because these are verified smart contracts, which is something I'll get into in a minute here. Okay, the verified smart contracts thing is another thing that you'll learn that should be very valuable to you. But look, yes, this could all rug, but it's copied from something successful. I go in the Telegram, I get the impression that Kairos, the developer, is a good dude. Of course, it could just be, there could end up being a bug one day, but I've got tiny little bets in here that are making me passive income that I'm using to buy more PulseChain. And, I pull them after a certain amount of time as well. I'll come in here, I'll make a certain amount, and then I'll pull them out. But it is a game of hot potato sometimes as well, right? Because you don't know if or when these things are going to go down. And you should always be scared, right? But these things, the ones I'm showing you in particular, Daytona, IMPLS, give me a little more confidence in the passive income that they're generating. And now, as of late, somebody shouted this one out on one of my last live streams, Sparkswap.xyz. They've got farms and pools that are very limited right now, but you can see they've got a couple of farms that also take that PulseX PLP, right? So if you've got PulseX PLP over here that you would get on the liquidity tab, remember, you'd add liquidity for whatever pair, and then you'd send some to a condom wallet, you'd stake some in here. And there's a couple options right now. Hex Pulse is my main favorite here, but You've got single-sided pools as well. You've only got 3 single-sided pools, and then they've got something called Sparkler, which I'm not really interested in, but this is with that feedback loop as well because it prevents people dumping. Basically, if you stake your Spark, you can earn Spark Pulse LP tokens, which is very interesting, but I'm not doing that personally. Okay, so I'm taking advantage of this one, and I'm taking advantage of it early. But why am I so early on this degen play of mine, right? These are all, I consider these all degen plays more or less, but you look in the Telegram chat, and it was actually forked from a very successful Binance Smart Chain yield farm called EMP Money. So if you want to go read about EMP Money, go in their Telegram channel. And what I see in these guys, I mean, these guys are only 5 days old. So this is by far the riskiest one. This is the Sparkswap. I mean, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a week old. All right. So it's brand new, which means the Lindy effect is not really applying here. Okay. So it is a bit more risky, but you go back to Sparkswap. And if you want to go in their Telegram, what I see in their Telegram, guys, is a lot of enthusiastic, positive people. And this looks to me like a professional kind of pump yield farming, you know, a little bit of that over-the-top promoting kind of vibe. But I can tell they've done this before, right? And there's a lot of happy individuals that seem to be very happy with the way EMP Money went. And they're very happy that Sparkswap launched not only on BSC now, but they copied their code from the EMP Money, and they copied it onto PulseChain. And they're allowing people to earn some passive income, you know, for as long as the protocol continues to work. And you can go into some of these guys' Telegram channels, and you could look at how many members they have. That's another, like, how much actual activity do they have? That's another metric you can weigh when you're weighing all your pros and cons here, if you decide to do this at all. You got a pretty active Telegram chat for only a week old, right? 1,400 members, 200 people online. You know, what does Daytona have? They've got more than Daytona already, and they've only been out for a week. So you could tell these guys came from kind of a successful enterprise on Binance Smart Chain. Allegedly, right? This is all allegedly. And we could look at the prices. You know, the price of Tony not doing so well, but Corey Costa interviewed the guys yesterday. Shout out Corey. And they had a nice little pump on that. IMPLS seems to be going up. People seem to be catching on to the fact that there's a very limited supply here. But there's also limited liquidity, right? 34K liquidity, less than $1 million market cap. Impulse has 52K liquidity, less than $1 million market cap. But if you're only selling, let's say, you know, $500 at a time, you can really make some pulse on here by selling into this liquidity pool. Same with Spark as well. This one actually has a lot of liquidity for starting out. It's already got pretty high market cap. Again, I feel like I get the intuitive feeling that the guys at Sparkswap are kind of like, they've done this before. They know the game. This ain't their first rodeo type of thing. Guys, I've already explained to you a couple of things that I look for, right, when it comes to all these additional, let's call them degen plays, just for fun, not to insult anybody, but degen plays, right? Look at the Telegram chats, try to get a hold of who the developers are, look at, are they copying existing code? Are they adding additional functionality? And guys, by the way, all these things, Daytona, Impulse, Sparkswap, these are utilizing Pulse X PLP, right? So it's really not driving people away from Pulse X. If anything, it's incentivizing people to add more liquidity to Pulse X, because the PLP tokens that you need to stake in these yield farms need to be originated from the Pulse X protocol. And a lot of the single-sided staking that they offer too, look, the single-sided staking protocol coins are some of the Richard Hart coins, right? WPLS right here. This is they're allowing you to stake PulseChain if you want. Yes, you can make a high APR, but at your own risk, right? Because you're risking, in my opinion, the most valuable asset of all, which is PLS. But you could earn 500% APY. Here's another side tangent as well, guys. You're going to see very high APRs on all these yield farms at first, and they will always go down over time. Why do they always go down over time? Well, that's two things. One, more people join the pool, so the rewards get split up among more people. And two, oftentimes the price of the token over time goes down, which means, you know, if the price of the reward token, like if you're getting paid in Tony token and the price goes down, it's also going to lower the APR that you see on the screen. And look, it's because people are getting these tokens. I'm just going to be very honest. People aren't going to like this, me being too honest, right? People get these tokens for little risk, right? The only risk they have to do is they have to put up with smart contract risk. Oh, the protocol might fail, but I can just click a button and I can get, it's basically unlimited money, life hack, right? Cheat code. So what do people do with tokens that they don't have to put up any risk for? When they have no skin in the game, they're likely to actually sell these tokens over time. But you can see that they still maintain some value. Okay, they still are traded, and the teams often come up with new and unique ways over time to get people to, rush in to hold the tokens again, right? Like Sparkswap has this weird sparkler thing over here. I'm not playing those games, but other people might, get talked into playing those games. That's fine. People can do whatever they want. It's a free market out there. And here's the thing: if you really want to know, if you want to know at the smart contract level, I'll end with this. This is high value, but it also takes a little bit more determination and brain power. So a lot of people are lazy, and that's just a fact. But if you want to download Visual Studio Code, go ahead and Google it. Visual Studio Code. This is a code editor, all right? This is a code editor, and you go ahead and just download whatever version for Mac or iOS or Windows, whatever. Download this on your computer, and it'll basically come up with this is a program that allows you to read code, all right? That you can copy and paste the smart contract into this program and read the code yourself. Now, how do you get the code? Well, you go over to scan.pulsechain.com, right? You find the smart contract, go in the Telegram group, maybe just search in the address bar. Like, look, I searched for Tony. Daytona Finance comes up right first, okay? Then once you get into the smart contract, you're going to want to know a couple of things here, all right? First of all, you want the code to be verified. And how do you know if you're getting verified code? Well, look at the code section right here. If it's got a little check mark next to it, that means the code has been verified. You don't have to deconstruct it from, bytecode or anything like that. You can just click on the code tab right here. All right. We're going to load this up, and this is where you're going to find the actual smart contract code, and you can look for yourself in the code and see if there's any red flag that you might find, and you can be your own developer in a way. So you go here, right? This is all the source code. Copy the source code, paste it into Visual Studio Code, paste it right here, and then you would select for your language. You'd want to select JavaScript because that's as close as you're going to get to Solidity without, I'm just keeping it simple here. Go on the bottom right corner and select your language, and then search for JavaScript after you paste it in here. This will convert everything to JavaScript, and you could do a Control F for words like admin, right? Look, we found some admin things in the Sparkswap code. What is it here? Well, the admin functionality, typically, it looks like it's designated to I access control. This is interface access control. I think this used to say interface. Yeah, interface access control. So this is basically telling me that the admin is allowed to, add and remove various pools, various single-sided staking pools and farms. That's kind of expected, right? But we can keep scrolling down and see admin. Another keyword you'd want to look for is owner. And you can search for owner, all the instances of the word owner. And you can see what is the worst thing that an owner can do. And if the owner has functions that allow you to, steal all of somebody's coins, you don't want to be in something like that. If the owner has mint as many coins as you want function, you could say, well, that kind of stinks, but why would the guy want to nuke his whole project? And even if he does dump all the coins, at least I wasn't the one buying into the yield, the reward token, right? I wasn't buying that narrative. So, alternatively, if you don't see anything bad that the owner could do, if the worst that the owner could do is add or remove a liquidity pool, then maybe you'll be okay with that risk. And maybe you're not. Maybe you're very triggered by this video. I don't know why you are still watching. If you're triggered by all this, just don't use them. Just don't use them. You don't have to use any of this because it is risky, right? And if you lose all your money in one of these, that is your fault. That is entirely on you. Just like I admit that when I use any of these liquidity new yield farms, I am putting up my money at risk, high risk, okay? I'd say medium to high risk. But I'm doing it for more pulse, and I'm doing it with a small section of my bag, and I'm doing it in a separate wallet. And so far, it's worked out very well for me, so I felt like I had to share that with all you guys to provide value in some way. Again, for a lot of the people that might be upset with the fact that there's not the right yield farms or there's not the right single-sided staking on PulseX, well, there really is. You just got to look around and find the projects. Now, you can go into certain Telegram channels, like PRC20 Telegram channels, and you can just Control F for yield farm projects and search for yield farm projects that way. But keep in mind, guys, you got to use your intuition, use your actual detective skills. And a lot of these things, they're probably going to go nowhere. There's a lot of yield farms out there that are going to probably rug. And there's, it might even be one of these. I I don't think so, but it could be. And there's a lot of yield farm projects out there that are just going to go nowhere because they're not going to get any attention. So that's the game here. Look, I hope you found this valuable. I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow night, probably. So tune into that, ask me anything, and you can dictate the next videos that I'm going to make, because it's all about providing value to you guys at the end of the day. So I hope you learned something. These are 3 additional ways to make passive yield with your liquidity, positions, or single-sided staking. Use them at your own risk, or don't use them at all. It's really, really simple. Take ownership of your own life. That's what crypto is all about. Self-sovereignty and making up your decisions, because you're the one that clicks all the buttons at the end of the day. Hey, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one.